Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're actually going to look back at my curriculum picks for the 2024-2025 school year. We're going to watch my old video together and I'm going to give you an update on what worked, what didn't work, and why I chose some of the curriculum I did for this upcoming school year. Now that we're actually done with that school year, I think it would be fun to go back and watch all the ideas and plans I had and then tell you guys what actually happened and if we used the curriculum, what I thought about it. So I thought that this was going to be really fun. So I'll be watching through the video and then I'll stop and talk about different things with you guys. So I'm going to do a quick wrap up of all the curriculum I used for my three kids. I have a 6th grader, 4th grader, and kindergartner. Let's jump in with my oldest, my 6th grader. So for my 6th grader, this year we are using Saxon Math 7-6. And I also use Nicole the Math Lady. So Saxon Math is the curriculum. Those are the books, the work, text, lessons that we use. And then Nicole the Math Lady is an online platform where Nicole actually teaches every Saxon lesson. So my daughter opens up her Saxon math book to lesson 10. She goes on Nicole the Math Lady's website to lesson 10 and Nicole teaches the lesson. So Saxon Math has been tried and true in our homeschool. My oldest has used it the longest. She switched to using it in 4th grade, I believe, or the end of her 3rd grade year. And so continuing on just made sense. I use Saxon Math with Nicole the Math Lady. Nicole the Math Lady teaches the lessons straight from the Saxon workbooks. So it's a pretty independent subject for my kids. So 7-6, it worked just fine this year. Obviously, we enjoy it so much. That's why you're seeing us move on to 8-7 this upcoming school year for my oldest daughter. My middle daughter, she originally started Saxon 3, which Saxon 3 is kind of part of a different Saxon publishing group, so I wasn't sure how she was going to like it. And then this upcoming year that we're rewatching the video, she was going to do 5-4, and she actually transitioned really well. So if you're curious if somebody's going to do well from Saxon 3 to Saxon 5-4, my daughter did fine. We did have to supplement with multiplication facts, but I feel like I've had to do that with any curriculum, so that was the only thing, and that's because we don't use Saxon's fact practice. I like to use other resources. Language arts, science, and social studies. My daughter is using the year-long programs from Moving Beyond the Page. She is using the 10 to 12 level, which is the Moving Beyond the Page. All right, so let's talk about Moving Beyond the Page. So for both my daughters, and that's, I know in this video, I think I separated it by grades that we're watching, but I'm just going to talk about it because my comments are the same. So for Moving Beyond the Page, you guys know before this school year, we had just used them as individual units and we did them together. So that means we all sat together and did the units together. My girls would be reading the same book. I would be doing the units with them. We were doing the younger levels, which were written for a teacher. And then I did a couple trial runs with my oldest where the units were written towards her, so they were more independent. And we really like Moving Beyond the Page. I like the individual units. I like the books that they pick. I like that you jump around topics. I like that language arts and science and social studies is all combined. So that is why I decided to buy the full packages. The only thing we weren't using from them was math. So when you do that, you get 12 language arts units, and then you get 12 units that are either science or social studies. They kind of fluctuate, but the units all tie in together and kind of build on each other. You have books for each unit that you read, like literature. There's a lot of different projects. No unit looks the same. There's always different activities. So it was really fun, but my oldest, when she was doing the 10-12 level, it was completely independent because the entire units are written towards the student. So I felt extremely hands-off. And then my other daughter, who was doing the 8 to 10 level, those units were still written for a teacher. However, I just did not have time to sit there and go through all the activities and units. So she actually just was able to figure out how to do those units kind of independently. She's a really good student. She loves reading, loves doing activities. But because I wasn't as involved with those units, there was a lot of skipping activities that were getting done. A lot of the science experiments weren't getting done. And that wasn't for any more reason rather than a lot of times some of those science experiments just took a lot of setup. And it's not fun when we're not all doing it together. One kid just sitting by themselves doing an activity wasn't really fun. So I really started missing us doing those types of units and activities together, or at least them having some sort of like reaction, like a classmate or a teacher. So that is where I was like, you know what, maybe this isn't the best for us to use in this way, meaning like everyone's kind of out on their own independently. What also happened is my work schedule changed. So when we did our move, my work schedule changed. So I was working a lot later into the day than I normally was. And so because of that, I didn't have that afternoon time to really do all these units with my kids. So I really needed a more independent curriculum. So this curriculum worked for us. My daughters probably both got through 80% of the units. So there's 24 units altogether. They probably got through 20 of them each. So I feel like we got through a lot of the material curriculum. They read amazing books, but I could not do the units with them. So I needed it to be independent. And because the way that this curriculum is structured, I just feel like this curriculum is better used when you can have discussions, when you can do things together. This isn't really an independent curriculum, even though it's written independent. And I hope that makes sense. So nothing against it. I absolutely love this curriculum, and I see us doing standalone units again in the future together. But this curriculum, the whole year, all the subjects, is not going to work in the life we're in right now, the schedule we're in, and it's just not meeting the needs of what I want our curriculum to be. So we got through it. We used the majority of it. Again, I will always recommend it, but the entire year package and having this be your entire year curriculum didn't work for us trying to be independent of each other, independent subjects. So this one didn't work out like I thought it was going to. Oh, and then handwriting. I did forget to mention handwriting. She is doing her final year of handwriting. She is using Zaner level 6. Okay, so let's talk about handwriting, and I'll talk about it for my girls first because we're going to get into all the stuff for my son because that's a whole different subject. So I used Zaner for both my daughters. Again, they had very similar curriculum, just different levels. My oldest was using level 6, which is Zaner last level of handwriting. My middle daughter was using level 4 when we started the school year. So my middle daughter finished level 4 like halfway through our school year. So she got level 5 and also completed level 5. So my middle daughter did 2 levels of Zaner. My oldest daughter finished level 6. I really like this program for cursive handwriting. I have not used it for manuscript for the younger levels, but I love it for cursive. Both my girls have extremely strong cursive handwriting as well as regular manuscript handwriting, so it worked really well. I like that it gives them like real world examples in the curriculum. I like that it has like little QR videos if they need extra help. It actually like teaches them things while they're doing it. It wasn't just like wasted time. If Zaner had higher levels, I would probably still be buying it for my oldest daughter, even though I feel like she doesn't really need handwriting practice. Once she's finished it though, I'll say we haven't really done any handwriting. She's been doing a lot of papers, but she's been typing them all. So I guess I am kind of still looking for this upcoming year something to replace that a little bit. We will be moving into level 6 for my middle daughter. So she'll finish up that with handwriting too. So yeah, I wish Zaner had higher levels. I may look at some other options, but it's a solid, great program. It's pretty inexpensive too. I only buy the student books. I don't buy the teacher guides. I don't feel like I need those. So that is a handwriting program that I do recommend for cursive. Using for language arts, the Bob's Book workbooks and readers. All right, so let's talk about Bob's books. So Bob's books were how I taught my two daughters to read. They learned how to read outside of public school, even though they were in public school for kindergarten and were reading by that age. My son does not take to reading like my daughter, so I've been through the ringer trying to see what works. He does like the Bob books. The problem I will say is when we very first introduced Bob books, which was like a year ago, he was just memorizing the words, which is okay. But that wasn't really helping him learn how to read. So we actually stopped the Bob books. That Bob's book workbook I liked because he could recall some of the words from the stories and they went along together. So it worked pretty well. If you like the Bob books, those workbooks are pretty cool. But we did take a break from the Bob's books and focused on letter sounds. So I didn't want him at that point memorizing the stories or the words. I wanted him to be able to sound out the words. And so we stopped using those Bob books for a while. And then we did transition into using Logic of English, which I'll talk about more at the end of this update.
Then the beautiful Math K. He will not continue on with the Good and the Beautiful Math K. He's already started it and it's fine. And so that's why we're kind of working through it.
I think I'm so funny about the Good and the Beautiful Math because I struggle with it. Like, so honestly, I struggle with this curriculum so much because it's easy, it's open and go, it's fine, but I just don't love it. So I'm always looking for something else. So he did start with Math K. And we did end up finishing that throughout this school year. So it did work good. I did feel like I was skipping a lot of the stuff. I felt like there was a lot of fluff and a lot of stuff all over the page, which is really hard when you have kids that are distracted. But I feel like it's a good tool for me to have because it was easy, it was open and go. I felt like it includes topics that I don't see in other math curriculums like calendar and telling time. But like we skipped mostly all the little stories. That's just, he doesn't have the attention span to sit there while we're doing math, as well as he's really good with math. So he picked up on math concepts very, very early. And so he just wants to get it done. He doesn't want to read a story about butterflies and how many and all these things. He just wants to solve the problem. So that is kind of where we were struggling, but we did get through it. We did supplement. I had some Kumon workbooks that he would supplement because he just needed a little bit more challenging, especially when it was addition and subtraction. He needed bigger numbers and we weren't getting there. So we did it. It was fine. Obviously, you guys know we're using level 1 for math this year. It's just what's happening with him.
And we are using Sunlight's Science K program. Absolutely love it.
So with that, we were actually finishing that during that summer because he loved it so much. So we didn't have really much more to do when we started our new school year. He has always loved Sunlight Science. He likes the books and the experiment videos and the experiments, and he really enjoyed that. Like, he had really fun doing their Science K program. I don't know why I didn't, well, I do know why I didn't get the next level for science. It's because I felt like we needed to focus more on like reading and phonics. And so when we had that science curriculum, I feel like we just only did that. That's what he wanted to do. And I felt like we really needed to stop and focus on other things. So I'm sure if I would have continued using Sunlight's programs, which we may in the future for science, he would be ecstatic. They do a really good job of combining literature and concepts and keep it pretty simple. They break it over like a 4-day week, but we normally did it in 1 or 2 days a week. I loved the science experiment videos because you could either follow along and do the experiment with them, or if you didn't want to do the experiment, you could just have your child watch and they're still kind of getting the same concepts from that experiment, and it helped me out a little bit. So I do really like that curriculum. It was just I needed to switch our focus. We finished that one and I didn't want to introduce the next level because I wanted him to really focus on like phonics and reading.
Using the Danielian handwriting method, I also just made a full detailed review on that as well.
All right, so handwriting. Oh my gosh, I was obsessed with the Danielian handwriting method and I still think it's a great method. I think this program would have worked wonders for my daughters if this is what they would have used. They're both
great in handwriting, like I said, but the Danielian handwriting transitions from manuscript to cursive much simpler. So I really liked it. However, he just wasn't clicking with it. I wasn't really seeing him take to it. And then when we did switch to Logic of English, we just kind of started using their handwriting. So it was kind of conflicting information. So I just kind of laid off, as well as I've kind of just laid off on the structured handwriting. I just want him to be confident. He can write all his letters. He just needs to keep practicing. We also focused a lot more on just like building those hand muscles, like Play-Doh play, things like that. So we did not end up finishing the Danielian handwriting. I still think it's a pretty cool program. I do have that whole video on it. It just didn't work for him. And I think that kind of wraps up that video. I was talking about like books they were reading and stuff like that. So switching my son to the Logic of English really helped with him understanding letter sounds, like when I was talking about the Bob book. So then when he actually went through Foundations A, he learned how to sound out words, and that's what was missing. So then we reintroduced the Bob books, and then he was actually reading them. So he went through the first 3 sets of Bob books, I believe, over this past year, and was able to actually sound them out, which was amazing. So I absolutely loved Logic of English. So that was Foundations A. We then transitioned into Foundations B, which then started getting more into like, what if you can't sound out words, and some letters don't always make those sounds, and now getting more into sight words. So it's been a great program. They did have handwriting, especially in Foundations A. Handwriting was really heavy. I did try to buy their separate handwriting program, the Rhythm of Handwriting. Again, it just didn't work for us. I don't know why, but it's just like that. I don't know. It's just not clicking. So I just bought the Good and the Beautiful handwriting, and he's just been doing that, which simple, it's easy. He knows how to write his letters. So I hope you guys liked this kind of looking back about like what our plans were, what we ended up using, why or why didn't stuff work, or why are you not seeing me buy it again for our upcoming school year. I have already made my curriculum pick videos for the 2025-2026 school year, so those will be linked in the playlist down below, and I'll link this other playlist from last year's picks so you can see more details on that as well. I have like grade specific ones. I go into all the curriculum in detail. So I know it's summer, everyone is curriculum shopping and planning and buying, but just know you'll probably buy stuff and then you'll be like me a year later and be like, yeah, sounded great, didn't work out. So thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for looking back at my curriculum pick videos. Questions, comments, leave those down below. Have a great day, guys. Bye.